many times when a family has made the decision to homeschool their child or their children, they may find themselves in a situation where what they're really looking for from their school district is something called a dual enrollment, which is really not specific just to children who are being homeschooled. And in essence, it's where a family wants to have their child receive some of the services or benefits of the school district without having their child attend the public schools. And so a good example might be extracurricular activities, or might be a foreign language or something like that. Now, and that typically involves something called dual enrollment. So, and this doesn't, as I said, just come up for kids who are being homeschooled. It may be that you have a child who's attending a private school that doesn't offer a foreign language, and the parent says, I want my child to come and take French at the public school because he can't get French at the private school. And so I would say whether your child is being homeschooled is or is not entitled to a dual enrollment is, again, one of those maybe situations. First of all, many school districts, local school districts, so not just at the state level, but local school districts have a dual enrollment policy on the books that's been passed by the Board of Education. What's important is that your child is being your child who has a disability, who has rights that individuals who don't have disabilities may or may not have, not to be discriminated against based on their disability, okay? That child cannot be treated differently under that dual enrollment policy just because they don't want to handle a child who has a disability in this situation. So if the dual enrollment policy permits somebody to go to the public schools and take French, even if they're enrolled in a private school in the district, and you want your child who is being homeschooled to go and take French, and they say, well, then we'd have to do this, that, and the other thing and provide some special instruction and all that, and we just don't want to do it for people who have disabilities. Unless they have the same rule for all children who are being homeschooled, and even then it's a question mark and arguable that they couldn't do it, they can't just discriminate against your child because he or she has a disability. So they have to apply it evenly.
So in practical terms, what that might mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, where you could be homeschooling your child, and depending on the policy that your town has, you may be able to opt in to some of the special education services, even if you are homeschooling your child. Am I right or wrong about that?
Maybe.
Okay, well, that's where it gets complicated.
You might be able to. So the answer is yes, you might be able to. It depends on the facts. It depends on the policy. It depends on whether they're applying the policy. And you and I see this a lot. There may be a policy on the books, but between you and me, there's 50 or 60 families who are being exempted from that policy and being permitted to join the football team or being permitted to do other things. Well, they can't have a policy on the books that they're applying only to some people. That's not permitted.
So what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander.
So ultimately what I would say is it really does depend, but start by looking at the dual enrollment policy, see if there is one. Many school districts frown on dual enrollment for a lot of decent reasons. And then you want to say, the next question is the service or benefit that you're looking for from the school district a special education service or a regular education service? If it's a regular education service that's generally permitted to be provided if you're duly enrolled in a private school and they're just discriminating against you because you have a disability, probably that's not permitted. It is if you can prove it, okay? If it's a special education service, again, there are some cases that permit a family to get special education services only or related services like speech and occupational therapy only from their school district. I'm not aware of a lot of them, but there are some cases out there that talk about that, where there were permitted homeschooled child who has a disability was permitted to receive some services from their school district because the analysis spread out from just the issue of special education into discriminatory issues, religious issues, et cetera. So there may be a way to attack it to get the service depending on what the case law is in your circuit.
And I think that's particularly important to discuss in this narrow issue that we're discussing, and that is children who have special needs or disability and the consideration of homeschooling. Because if you're considering homeschooling and your child has a disability, those special education services or the related services may be very important to you.
Right, exactly. And the school may not be able to deny you those services if that benefit is available to other families and to other people who do not have disabilities. It's, again, very complex. And one little fact in your case could dramatically change the outcome. But ultimately, we want you to be aware that there may be a way to get those services, but it's going to depend on a lot of factors. And I would say my first call in a situation would be my State Department of Education.